Coming up in the news, an additional vaccination center set to open on Grand Bahama. Candidates around the country preparing to file nomination papers. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, addressing the nation last evening. The nation's chief using that national platform once again to push the message of the importance of vaccinations, while giving new details on the vaccination program on Grand Bahama. Jamila Mizik reports.
Let me again say to those who are still thinking about getting vaccinated, you do not have time to keep thinking about whether or not you will take the vaccine.
The nation's leader, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, during his national address on Sunday, reiterating that the only way out of the emergency phase of the pandemic is to vaccinate as many Bahamians as possible. He says since the national vaccination campaign began mid-March, a total of 129,017 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been administered. And for those residents wishing to be vaccinated on Grand Bahama, he shared this update.
On Grand Bahama, the administration of COVID-19 vaccines, including Pfizer, will be ramped up this week. This will include an additional center being opened, weekend hours, and additional vaccination opportunities in communities in the eastern and western areas of Grand Bahama. Vaccination teams from New Providence are being sent to Grand Bahama to assist local health teams.
Now, as it relates to Family Islands, Dr. Minnis says those residents will be a part of the initial rollout of the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
The Johnson & Johnson vaccine will also be used to vaccinate homebound residents who have not yet received the vaccine and who wish to do so. For the homebound who have already received the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, they will receive a second dose of the AstraZeneca.
The Prime Minister adding that doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have already been sent to San Salvador.
Vaccination teams will be returning to the Family Islands, starting with mainland Abaco on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. The following week, vaccination teams are expected to return to Exuma and Eleuthera. On the Family Islands, second doses of AstraZeneca vaccine will be administered along with the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Pfizer will also be made available to residents 12 and over.
And ahead of the September 16th general election, Prime Minister Minnis notes that curfews throughout the country will be strictly enforced.
Bahamians 65 years and older will be permitted to vote in the advance polls for their further protection in the upcoming general election. In terms of public health measures, this will also reduce the number of Bahamians voting on a single day. I want to ensure Bahamians that the voting process will be safe. I encourage all who are eligible to go out and vote.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
With the 2021 general election set for September 16th, nomination day is fast approaching. A large number of persons are expected to nominate in the 5 constituencies across the island this coming Friday, August 27th. This process will affirm their candidacy in the September 16th general election. In this report, the administrator for the city of Freeport is giving an overview of what persons can expect on nomination day. Italia Hall reports.
Administrator for the City of Freeport, Kathy V. Smith, says nomination day is required to be held 5 to 10 days after the election date is announced. She says for those persons seeking nomination, you are required to fill out a nomination form.
It should be subscribed by not less than 5. You can have more than 5 persons subscribe to nomination paper, but a minimum of 5 persons as voters, and they must be voters in that constituency. And those papers should be delivered either by the candidate, him or herself, or one of the subscribers to the returning officer for that constituency. In this case, I'm the returning officer for the constituency of Pine Ridge, and our nomination site is the Church of God of Prophecy in Hartsville.
Candidates must also submit a declaration of qualification.
The declaration of qualification must be signed by the candidate and notarized by a justice of the peace or a notary public that is dated on a date not more than 90 days before nomination day. And this is found in the Parliamentary Election Act, Section 36(2). Another form that the candidate must submit is the Declaration of Assets, Income, and Liabilities.
And candidates can only submit their documents between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon on nomination day.
If a candidate comes at 12:01, his documents are not accepted. So that is very important for the candidates to remember. It's between 9 a.m. and 12 noon. And finally, a deposit fee of $400 Bahamian dollars or a certified or manager's check is also submitted when collected by the returning officer on that date.
Once all documents are received, the returning officer will check the documents and sign off on them. The documents will then be sent to Nassau to the Parliamentary Commissioner, the administrator explaining the criteria for nominees.
There's just 2 eligibility. They have to be a Bahamian and has to have resided in the Bahamas for a period of not less than 1 year.
She says she is expecting a large turnout on Friday.
It is expected that there are about 4 independent candidates. So I'm thinking that we will have a large group of supporters to present their candidate this coming Friday at the Church of God of Prophecy in Hartsville.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
The Commissioner of Police has established an election investigation unit that is responsible for investigating all matters related to the Bahamas national general elections. This comes as it was brought to the attention of the Commissioner of Police that some persons are deliberately destroying party paraphernalia. The Commissioner reminds the public that it is an offense to interfere with or destroy party paraphernalia, and the persons caught doing so will be prosecuted. The Royal Bahamas Police Force noting that officers will ensure that all registered voters in the Bahamas will be allowed to freely exercise their constitutional rights to elect a candidate, party, and government of their choice. The Commissioner also imploring leaders of all political parties to encourage their supporters to exercise restraint during this time and to respect the process and not destroy or remove their opponent's paraphernalia. He's asking members of the public to notify the police whenever and wherever they observe persons doing so. Well, stay with us. There's more news coming up right after this break.